Hello. The first thing we can notice when we look at Jon Jones is that he's very tall and lanky. But at closer glance it's obvious. His greatest strength is his mind, which he firmly believes as well.
I have a lot of pride in my work ethic. And knowing that, dude, I've been skinny my whole career, whooping people's ass. I'm not a knockout artist. I win because I'm smart. And, I work hard.
His techniques don't deliver knockout force, nor are they perfect, with two things remaining consistent to his approach. An approach that heavily emphasizes an element of surprise whilst smashing you with bonier portions of his body, hence the nickname Bones. Side note, he also acknowledges this title because he acknowledges that he's skinny. He looks at patterns of behavior you've refined his techniques, figures out why you use that technique, and tries to use it against you through his unique anatomy.
I study everybody extensively, and then I come up with their patterns. I figure out the way they flinch. I figure out their first favorite punch, their second favorite punch, their third, their favorite combinations, their setups to their takedowns, when they clinch, what side their head's going to be on. Literally everything. I know everything about every opponent. What side they're going to shoot, whether it's going to be a head inside, head outside. What am I going to do about that, I figure out everything, why they shoot, what area of the cage they like to shoot, everything.
Not trying to instantly KO you.
I'm not a knockout artist, I win because I'm smart.
But instead, methodically breaking you down until nothing is left. Let's look at a few examples of this. Alexander Gustafsson is taking a spinning elbow. He waits for the jab, and the moment Jon sees it coming, lowers his stance, blocks it with his shoulder, but also, from that lowered position, generates momentum for a spinning elbow, devastating Alexander, to which he follows up with a clenched knee. Just notice an element of unrefinedness to the way Jon strikes. Jon clearly is not a fighter who masters obliterating you with a signature move like Conor McGregor's counter punch, and this ironically communicates his greatest strength, that he does not have one strong move, and instead has an arsenal adapted specifically to you, exploiting your behaviors and your signature moves. Here's another example of Jon exploiting behavior. Look at the way Rashad guards by holding his hand out, looking at the chest area, hoping to mitigate any traditional punches or strikes coming in. Jon sees this and uses his unique anatomy to exploit this. Look at the way Jon's left hand traps Rashad's right hand, nullifying his capacity to raise his hand and guard against a strike, with also an element of surprise in the strike due to its unorthodox nature. Absolutely genius. This is brilliant. When Jon feints into a spinning elbow, he has many feints to set it up, sometimes with a punch, but here, he creeps forward with his wrestling pressure and uses that position to explode into a very counterintuitive elbow. His opponent had no idea what just happened, and it lands clean. The last move I want to go over is his oblique kick or knee stomp versus Rampage. Jon knows Rampage is a fighter who likes to come in close and swing you into a concussion. His style, in that sense, is very unidimensional, but nonetheless, due to its power, very dangerous. Jon understood and respected this, and basically tried to avoid staying in that pocket with Rampage at all costs, even running away in certain instances. But in order to keep a distance, another move he used was through his lanky anatomy, the knee stomp. Every time Rampage would slowly try to come in, this was one of the moves Jon would use, exploiting the fact Rampage is very unidimensional. He doesn't have insane footwork, he doesn't want to take you down, the only thing he wants to do is come up and bang hands. To which, this move is absolutely perfect, hyperextending the knee, causing damage to the ligaments, reducing overall punching power whilst creating hesitation in that advance. Basically crippling Rampage's unidimensional approach. This is just hilarious. Bell rings, but to mess with Rampage, he still lifts him into the air and drops him casually. Look at the way Rampage looks back like, "I'm gonna write you a stern letter, mister," to say it politely. So, how does Jon do it? Through study. Is there a technique he's using to break down these fighters in his mind before a fight? Yes, there is. It's visualization, or more practically known as spatial reasoning. Spatial reasoning is a category of spatial reasoning skills that refers to a capacity to think about objects in 3 dimensions and draw conclusions about those objects from limited information. So as John observes his opponent's footage, figuring out how they like to shoot, how they like to guard, how they like to advance and or punch, he's using visualization or spatial reasoning to imagine how we can address that situation. Why do I believe this? 2 reasons. I know he's a devout practitioner of the law of attraction, which has a massive emphasis on visualization.
A lot of people were surprised when they found out that you've been signing your name as Champ 2011. How did that come about?
I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that that you can speak things into existence. And I believe that when you know where you're going and you know what you want, the universe has a way of stepping aside for you. And me signing my signature with Champion 2011 on it can't hurt me.
And secondly, I can see him doing it.
He intimidated me. He really did. He did. I don't know what it was. I think it has something to do with just, being a young black kid. Rampage is one of those guys you just like. He's the guy, and he howls and he's
The way he recalls back to his childhood, being a young black kid, looking down, thinking, iconic visual, cueing Rampage's memory from that childhood, him howling over his opponent. This is actually something we all do to some extent, except I believe John uses this human skill to sit down and imagine exploiting his opponent's behaviors in his mind. I don't know about Donald Cerrone, as he literally says he doesn't give a damn about studying his opponents at all, but we can all to some degree do this in our lives, not just for a fight, but for job interviews, sitting down, imagining questions, how it will go, how you will sit, how the employer will react. Before we flow into a date, imagining her general vibe, imagining questions you'll ask, practicing a feint against your opponent due to a jump shot. This is a skill much more valuable than I believe most people realize, but it's definitely a superpower within all of us. Final note before I wrap this up. John is actually a very insecure person. He's actually quite anxious.
The butterflies in formation. Basically, it means when you have butterflies and you're feeling anxious and you have anxiety or nervous, that's when you're most powerful, I believe. So a lot of people, instead of homing this power and using it, they allow it to just consume them. There's another quote that says, a big challenge or big pressure is like a fire. It's like a raging fire. Either you can allow this fire to consume you and just take you over completely, or you can gain control of this fire and harness it, and you blow it right at your opponent like Dragon Ball Z style.
But he doesn't let it cripple him by focusing on things he can't control. Instead, he puts it into practical use through study and training.
I owe not losing to losing. I lose a lot in practice. There's a lot of guys who are on my team currently, a lot of guys who are on my team who's not in the UFC, who's able to beat me on any given day. I get taken down all the time in practice. I get hit pretty hard. I get tapped out all the time in practice. And to other fighters, they probably look at me as close to unbeatable. Where if you spend time with me and you see that I definitely am not a guy who wins every day, know that I can be beat. And I think that's why I haven't been beat.
To ease a bit of the pressure, he creates justifications as to why he could possibly lose, trying to make it feel like less of a big deal by partying non-stop a week before a fight.
I'm not sure if I've ever shared this with anyone else before, but I had this crazy thing that I would do where I would party 1 week before every fight. And I did it throughout my whole career. And it's stupid, but it was this mental crutch that I had. I literally would, 1 week before every fight, I would go out and I would get blacked out wasted. And my logic was, if this guy were to beat me somehow, I can look myself in the mirror and say that, well, I lost because I got hammered the week before the fight.
To mitigate some of that pressure, to have a justification to blame as to why he could possibly lose. Courageously, he enters the arena despite that anxiety still, and using a combination of methods to flow. Lastly, he pretends he's Goku, channeling his anxiety, smashing you with it, turning those emotions and the entire process leading up into a reason to enter his flow, which he does beautifully. At one time, a viral entity as a result. John Bones Jones, from my perspective, is very human, but his strength is that he acknowledges he is, and through it, is realistic about the work he has to put in, the amount of hard work he has to dedicate to his craft. But with yin comes yang, despite feeling that fragility. He believes, nonetheless, he is the best. He believes he's entitled to win, not because he's arrogant, but instead because he feels the work he put in entitles him to it. Regardless of if you like John or not, this is something we can all use. We can all grow from, regardless of if you're even a fighter. He's had a troubled past, but if we focus on the good and try to pull that out regardless of what you think of him, I hope you may use it to nail your spinning elbow clean and smash your walk of life to pieces. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. It's good karma, and until next time, peace.